Hi guys, this is Lydia, the lifestyle coach ending eating disorders, and for some reason my video is not working on my laptop, so I'm coming to you from my phone today because when life gives you technology problems, you just use more technology to overcome them. And so here we are. So fun to have you guys here and have you here in this amazing community where we are all getting free together. And I'm Lydia, the lifestyle coach. And after years of binge eating and bulimia and all that jazz, I don't have an eating disorder anymore. I'm completely free. We've seen that happen for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people all around the world. And we're coming to you with another live feed with an awesome topic that's really important to understand because it's one of those things that isn't intuitive, that actually makes things worse when we're hoping that they make things better. So it's a really important thing to understand. So hello guys, I'm not sure from my phone exactly how comments and things work. So maybe just, give a heart or a smiley or say hi and I'll see how it works on my phone because we're doing it different today. But we'll go from there. So what we're going to talk about today is this desire to feel better after a binge, this desire to, feel comforted, to feel okay, to be able to, recover, to recuperate, and why that desire to feel better and the searching for the feeling better actually makes the next binge worse. So this is one reason why things get worse and worse as things go on, because this is part of the cycle of, okay, we're going to binge and then we're going to feel better. In fact, during the binge, while it's happening, one thing that we'll do is we'll promise ourselves that we're not going to do this again, that we're starting over, that it's going to be different tomorrow. How many times have you been eating and thinking, well, I better enjoy it now because I'm really not going to do this again? You're literally feeling better about what you're doing right then because you're never going to do it again. So that softening is actually the thing that keeps us in the cycle. It's part of the eating disorder cycle. So hello, so fun to see you guys. Hi, thanks for the hearts. That's so fun. And if this resonates with you or if you guys have questions or comments, feel free to pop them in here. I guess I can see them on my phone, which is a good thing. So beautiful. So let's talk about this. So feeling after a binge and why it makes the next one worse. So a lot of times it starts like this, like you eat way more than you think you're going to. Maybe it's binging, maybe it's overeating. You just don't feel good about what you just did. And we as humans have a natural desire to feel better if we feel bad. Just look at your behavior at any time. Yeah, I love this. Chatter loves to make excuses to continue the cycle. That's exactly it. So if you take any person on the planet and they're in pain, they're going to seek to feel better. If they're in discomfort, they're going to seek to feel comfortable. If they are feeling sad, they're going to seek to feel happy. That's an important mechanism in our brain. That's a good survival thing. That's a good thing for life in general. But when it comes to binging, it is a huge problem because this is what happens. We're binging and we're telling ourselves that we're not going to do this again. And it's sort of this hijacked feeling of, wow, what am I doing? I can't believe what I'm doing. It's almost like we're trying to hide the binge from ourselves. Whoa, that's not me. Whoa, I wouldn't do that. Whoa, that's not okay. And it's almost like we come back out of it. It's like we went into binge mode. I hear a lot of you guys call it that. We went into binge mode that really didn't feel like you, felt like something else was controlling you, and then you come back out of it. And then what happens is we soften it. We say, oh, well, that was awful, but I'm not going to do that again. Oh, well, that was bad, but, I ate healthier things than I did last time. Oh, well, I don't feel good about that, but I really think that things are improving. And because of our natural tendency to want to feel better, what happens is we get out of touch with the reality of what is going on. We get out of touch with the problem that's actually happening, and you cannot fix a problem that you are not clear on. So we continue in this cycle, and it's sort of like we're ignoring it, right? We might feel bad about it. We might feel really awful afterwards, but because we're saying that we're never going to do it again, it's almost like, well, we don't need to address that because we're never going to do that again. And we work with women who have been doing that for 30 or 40 years, continuing in that same cycle. So it's like, oh, it didn't really happen. Or I hear you guys say all the time, whoa, I ate all this food and I didn't even enjoy it. I didn't even taste it. I didn't even think about it, because we're checking out from what's happening. We're numbing to what's happening right then as we eat more and more food. And we have these feelings like, oh, I don't even want to think about that. Like, oh man, how much did I eat? I don't even want to know. How often does that come up? Oh, like, I don't even want to know. Like, I don't even want to, because that's behind me now. It's behind me now. And I don't even want to know what I just ate, because if we knew, it wouldn't feel good, and we want to feel good. But it's this incredible frustration with the exact opposite happening of what we want to happen in our lives. It's like pouring all of our energy into a relationship and then realizing that our relationship is worse off than it's ever been. It's like putting overtime and tons of hours into your career and then realizing, wow, you're paying them to work there now. You're in the hole. Like, it is incredibly frustrating to be putting so much energy into being done with an eating disorder, or being done with overeating, or being done with emotional eating, or whatever you want to call it, to, might I say, soften it. It's a lot. That's what we hear all the time as well. Like, I thought I didn't have willpower. Oh, well, I just thought I was overeating. Oh, well, I just thought that I just did this weird thing every so often. We don't want to call it an eating disorder. We don't want to call it what it is, because, oh, that sounds serious. Maybe it is serious, but we don't want to see it, right? Like, we're softening that. So it's incredibly frustrating to be trying so hard to not do this anymore, and then realize that 10 years later, it's worse than it's ever been. In fact, it's so incredibly frustrating that we don't want to look at it. We want to not feel so bad about it. And so we start softening it. And so in the quest to feel better, we're actually not in touch with the reality of what is happening. So hi guys, so fun to see you joining and seeing you on here. This is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, ending eating disorders. All right, so we put all of our effort into this. Here's another example. I put all of my effort into losing weight, and I'm 20 pounds heavier than I was. We had a woman come to us. She said, I have been dedicated to losing weight all year long, and I'm 5 pounds heavier now. It's really frustrating to have nothing to show for our efforts. But what happens is we soften that. We try to make ourselves feel better because of it. We tell ourselves things are getting better, that they're going to be different tomorrow. And that's the sort of cycle that keeps us in this for the rest of our lives. So let's look at the reality, right? Because we want to be able to take away sort of the softening and take away all of the stuff that we sort of feed ourselves to try to feel better, to just look at the truth of what's happening. Because that is the non-intuitive thing, right? Instead of ignoring it, we look at what's actually happening here. And once we understand the problem, that's the first step to being able to fix it. Because you can't fix a problem that you don't understand what's happening or that you don't see as a problem. And it might not be a problem. Like, sometimes we talk to women and they're just like, oh my gosh, I have a raging eating disorder. This is what's happening. And that's not what's happening at all. Like, they have something that isn't that, and we'll let them know. But either way, when you don't know the truth, then you can't be able to find the solution. So, for instance, let's just look at this in dollars and cents. A lot of times we treat this like this weird little thing of like, oh man, I can't believe I keep doing that. Oh man, I'm such like a chocoholic. And we're not really seeing the cost of this. So let's just put it in like dollars and cents. So disordered eating is $1 million problem. $1 million problem. I'm not kidding. Let's break it down. Okay, so a lot of the people that we work with, they've been in a cycle for 40 years. 40 years, that's a whole lot of life. All that is $25,000 a year for 40 years. This is what that looks like. $13 extra a day on food. That's it. This is not even a crazy eating disorder. This is like, oh, just, maybe a little overeating in the evening. $13 extra a day on food. That's it. $400 a month on, stuff that you're trying. Hypnosis or therapy or, some new diet or, ordering some food or getting some shakes or trying some supplements. $400 a month. That's really easily, it adds up to that. $5,000 a year on at least 2 new wardrobes as you continue to gain weight. It's really easy to drop a couple of thousand when you're having to keep on getting a new wardrobe, and that's only twice a year. We coach a lot of women who they're getting new wardrobes 4 times a year because of the weight gain. That's, $400 a month on just other random stuff to try to feel better, right? Supplements, extra doctor's visits because now you've got autoimmune disorders popping up, medications because you're now having health complications from that, and $5,000 on missed opportunities, or just more shopping. I mean, that is a really easy thing to add up. A lot of times we are shopping more when we're in binge mode. A lot of, online shopping, that's a real common thing as well. And that adds up super, super quickly. So that adds up easily to be $1 million. And I know a lot of us soften that, right? Just do a gut check with yourself. Say, do I actually know? I know you can't put a price tag on like your sanity or your integrity or feeling good about yourself or your self-esteem or your relationships or being present with your kids. I know you can't put a price tag on that stuff. But if we're even just thinking in dollars and cents, do you know the reality of how much you are spending to just perpetuate your eating disorder, to just perpetuate the eating? And if not, then that may be a sign that, oh, okay, maybe I'm not fully in touch with what's actually happening here. So we have $1 million problem that we're just sort of ignoring. And if you're thinking like, wait, I don't have $1 million. Yeah, you don't have $1 million because you have an eating disorder. $1 million over 40 years, like that's totally like people make that. But when they don't have eating disorders, they spend it on other stuff. They spend it on vacations with their family and they spend it on houses. And with so many of the women we coach, like they've never been able to get ahead. And they've softened it so much and they've disconnected it so much that they don't realize why they've never had a savings account that's gotten ahead. They don't understand, man, why am I always just having such a hard time keeping up? And why do I always feel like my bank account is empty at the end of the month? And they don't ever calculate. They don't have that in the budget, that it's going toward all of these extra things, $1 million over a lifetime, or even just, 40 years of the binge eating. So instead, we spend $1 million on carrying around that extra weight on our body from the binging, and we spend it on health complications. This is not even talking about when the health complications start, when multiple autoimmune disorders pop up, when we start going to the doctor more often because we're feeling so awful, when PCOS gets diagnosed, when we have all sorts of, bigger issues. I mean, we have women we've coached that have been to the hospital multiple times because they thought that they were having a heart attack, but their body just was like not responding very well to all of these extra calories that they were binging on. So deep breath. And an important thing to realize is that there's a decision. There's a decision to be more dedicated to your freedom than your comfort. And looking at the reality of what's happening, that's when the changes can start. So if this is something that you've been ignoring, okay, cool. You can just choose right now to maybe look at it just a little bit more, because the more reality that you have in your life, the more able you are to make these changes. So hi guys, so fun to see you on. Welcome. Feel free to pop in any questions or comments or hearts and all that jazz. It is all welcome here. So we have $1 million problem, and don't even get me started on bulimia. I mean, bulimia is way, way more expensive. I mean, that can be $50 to $100 a day that's literally going down the toilet. A lot of times when people are binging and then purging, they'll do it, 5-10 times a day. And it's a ton of food that they're eating and then they're purging. That's literally $50 a day down the toilet. Like, that's one of the most, like, when you think about that, doing that with your money, when was the last time that you just flushed a $100 bill down the toilet? But that's what we're doing. So this is like a conservative thing. $1 million problem is a conservative thing. And I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute. Isn't it interesting? There is a $1 billion diet industry creating $1 million problems with eating disorders. Yeah, that just keeps going. And that diet industry is preying on the insecurity of people and the patriarchal messages of your value is in your thinness, and then solutions that just make it worse. Because if diets worked, it wouldn't be a $1 billion industry. Anyway, I'll step down from that for a minute. So we have $1 million problem. And then because we're softening it, how do we treat it? Oh, I bet I can fix my $1 million problem with a bunch of YouTube videos. I bet free YouTube videos are going to fix my $1 million problem. Oh, maybe I'll splurge and I'll spend $6 on this ebook. Oh, that's probably going to fix my $1 million problem. And that's one reason why we get so exhausted with trying stuff over and over, because we're treating it like it's something that we can end for a $6 solution. You know what can happen, especially with bulimia? Instant death. Instant death. That can happen at any time with bulimia. And we're treating it like, oh, well, maybe I'll get this $3 ebook and that's going to fix the problem. And what happens is we spend so much energy trying to end this and so much energy trying to fix this, but we're doing it in ways that are never going to fix the problem because we're not treating it like the problem that it is because we've been softening it. Do you guys see this concept? Does this making sense? Okay. So it's sort of like when we want to not think about something because it's unpleasant. Sometimes I use like the seatbelt analogy, right? So imagine you're getting your kids in the car, you're, buckling them in, it's time to go, and you don't put their seatbelts on. Like you don't strap them in. And they're like, Mom, like what if we get in a car wreck? Like we could die. We could have instant death happening here. And you're just like, oh, honey, like that's not a good thought. I don't even want to think about that. I don't even want to, no, that's such an unpleasant thought. I don't want you to die. That's an unpleasant thought. Instant death can happen if we don't put our seatbelts on in a car ride. But we wouldn't be like, oh, well, I don't think that's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. And it's just really an unpleasant thought to get in a car wreck, so let's not think about that. No, we know that that is the reality of what can happen. We can die at any time. And so we put our seatbelts on and we buckle in our kids. But then when it comes to the very thing that we know is going to kill us, we treat it like, oh, I don't want to think about that. Here's another thing that happens. A lot of times when you think of the direction that we're going with weight gain, so the weight gain usually starts, gradually and we're yo-yoing up and down, but then it gets higher and higher and we're sort of ignoring it. And we realize we're heavier than we used to be, but we can always lose the weight, right? Softening, softening, softening. And then what happens is the rapid weight gain starts. And then all of a sudden we gain 50 pounds really quickly and we're not used to being that weight. Let's say that we went, from 150 pounds to 200 pounds. And that happened in maybe 6 months, right? When the rapid weight gain starts. So after that, if we just look at things being the same, that means in another 6 months, that would put you at 250 pounds. Try that on for a minute and look at what your brain does to soften it. Okay, so that means I'll be 250 pounds 6 months from now. No, I won't. Nope. No, I don't even want to think about that. No, that will not happen. That cannot happen. That will not happen. Notice how your brain goes into this denial of nope, 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 no way I would ever be 250 pounds. No way. Okay, what happens if you don't fix this right now? What will happen with the reality? Did you think you'd be 200 pounds? Did you think you'd be 180 pounds? We don't have to think something's going to happen. And us ignoring it doesn't keep it from happening. Us ignoring it just gives it more fuel to keep the cycle going as it always gets worse. So here's the solution, you guys. One, you've got to get the reality. You've really got to be willing to look at what's happening. I know it's not pleasant, but you know what? I wouldn't tell you to do an unpleasant thing unless it was something that was important for your freedom. You've got to know the reality. You've got to stop treating a $1 million problem with the results of instant death or just a life completely, wasted, and looking back on it and being like, wow, I just tried to fix my eating disorder my whole life and I never really lived. We got to stop treating that like it's no big deal. And I know that we have fun here, and I know that I'm the pioneer of eating disorder comedy because, that's what works. This doesn't need to be a heavy thing, but it has to be a real thing. It has to be something where we're really aware of what's going on. No one treats cancer like, oh, I just need to watch more YouTube videos. I'm sure that I'll find something in a YouTube video that's going to make all the difference and going to make everything click. I'm sure that this blog post, if I just keep reading this blog, is going to make something click so my cancer goes away. Nobody treats it like that. But you know what? Eating disorders are even more expensive than cancer, and both things kill you. So it's all right, let's treat this like what it is. And you know what? If it's not a big deal, then cool, high five, congratulations. But if you're here, it may be something that you want to look at. What is the reality of what's happening? So we need to stop numbing and we need to start getting real. And it's a natural thing. I understand it, you guys, especially when you've been in pain a long time. I mean, if you've been struggling with this for 10, 25, 35 years, I get it. It doesn't feel sustainable to really look at what's happening. We want to numb to sort of stay in survival. But notice that when you numb it to a certain point where it feels sustainable, then you can be there forever until you don't have a life anymore. So you want to be able to look at, okay, am I numbing? Am I really, taking this and, turning it down and ignoring it or softening it? And people around us do it too, especially if they know that we're struggling. Oh, you're doing fine. Oh, you're doing better. Oh, everything's going to be okay, because people want to help us to feel better. But it doesn't get us to the reality of what's happening. So I realize that it's a really natural thing to numb, especially when you're in pain for a long time. But open that up for a little bit and just look at that, because that's really the solution to be able to fix the problem, is knowing what's happening. And if you guys want support in that process, we don't know what we don't know, and we can't see what we don't see. And the thing is that when we've been in our own brains for so long, sometimes it's really not possible for us to even see what's going on, because we've been telling ourselves a different story for so long. So if you guys want support to get the foundation of clarity, of really seeing what's happening, and you know what? Maybe it's not as bad as you're thinking. Maybe it's worse than you're thinking. Either way, you want to know the reality. And so what you can do is you can book a call with us and we will support you. We'll help you to be able to know what to look at, to be able to know what to get clear on, to be able to ask the questions that you wouldn't have even thought of on your own. And you can go to lifewithlydia.com/apply and you can book a call with our team and we will help you with this. We're going to spend an hour with you and it's completely free, and we're just going to help you to get that foundation. So that's lifewithlydia.com/apply. Because what happens if you don't look at it? What happens if for the rest of your life you don't look at what's going on? That's your choice. You don't have to do anything. But we're really here for those who want this to change and want to do what works. And so if you want some support in that, that's where you can go. So fun to have you guys here. Thanks for all the hearts and all the loveliness. Oh, so fun. Hello, hello, hello to all of you. And we will be back for another live feed soon. But until then, this is Lydia, the Lifestyle Coach, signing off. Mwah.